What's up, y'all? Just to let y'all know, this is Let Me Finish. It is what the podcast presents. Let me finish. This is a little bit different from what the podcast. We don't have all the bells and whistles. We don't have all the people here. We're just going to be doing kind of a commentary podcast here. Um, how this got started was that, well, let me introduce the Godfather, of course. Good morning.
Hey y'all, good morning.
Um, Getting into how this started, I'm Nytelife. Um, Godfather and I was having conversations off air. We'd had these like deep philosophical conversations. One day we kind of got on our platform. We wasn't live, didn't record it. Was talking about some subjects, and I was like, man, I think this might be kind of cool for us to do on a regular basis. We just rotate out the host. So from here on out, the off Tuesdays that we are not doing what the podcast, we having this and instead. Sometimes it'll be Sam, sometimes it will be Sandman, sometimes it'll be Godfather. We'll just gonna rotate out. I'll probably be the one constant on here, but we're gonna rotate it out and do some different things. So I'm really excited about it because it's real different. We get to touch on some things that we won't touch on, and I really have a good rapport and good chemistry with Godfather about talking about these things because it's like we kind of offset each other a little bit, so it works perfect. So let's go ahead and get into topic number one. Now, over the course of, if you've been under a rock or been on another planet, Kanye West and Khyrie has been the big story.
They've been in the news for the whole Black Jew thing and us basically being one of the lost tribes.
Right. So there's
Rather than
anti-Semitic.
saying them, yes,
Right.
it
The
being
anti-Semitic
considered
comments.
it being considered anti-Semitic, but really what the conversation is about how Black people are also Jews, how we are also one of those four lost tribes. People really don't love to talk about Jews. They don't love to talk about anything Jewish, really, because for obvious reasons, the Holocaust or whatever. So that's one of those things. No one wants to touch it with a stick, and it's understandable. However, if the person isn't saying something hateful, I feel like there has to be a balance, right? Like there's got to be two sides of the train tracks when it comes to that, right? Like saying something that is completely offensive and completely wrong and hurtful to a group, yes, that's wrong. Saying something that is the truth, not hurtful, not harmful, it's just the truth. They're both kind of treated the same way, and that's where I feel like there's an issue.
Well, some of it I think has to do with it being hot button. Like you said, the Holocaust has a lot to do with it. It's like that's
Mhm.
the we don't go there type of thing.
Mhm.
And it's a shame because we look at black people, African Americans, not afforded the same thing. We don't have that. We don't get that when
Mm.
when slavery comes up as a conversation. Like we don't. No, you can't talk about that. That's off limits. You can't do that. But we can make all kinds of movies about that and exploit that. But when a black person or somebody says something that's going to be in regards to Jewish people, then it becomes an issue. It's like we've stepped on the landmine and have detonated it based on stuff that we should and shouldn't say. And it's really unfortunate because Kyrie's situation is a little bit different from Kanye's. They are not at the hip like everybody thinks they are. Kanye has actually said things, and the interpretation of what Kanye says and the way that he says it gives way to it being like threatening or some mannerisms that's not
Anti-Semitic.
cool, anti-Semitic
Right.
in nature. Um, but Kyrie just tweeted out a link, and that's not really
But you know
saying
what?
anything.
But you know what? Kyrie did the same exact thing. So I don't even know if you remember it. Nick Cannon was in the hot seat. What? Not even 2 years ago, maybe, for the same exact thing, for talking about how Black people are
Mm-hmm.
one of the lost tribes. So it's just like I said, Kanye's comments, which are hurtful, which are anti-Semitic are treated the same way as someone who's saying something that is not hurtful but is the truth as they see it. You know what I mean? Like, everyone may not believe that we're one of the lost tribes, and that's okay too. But it's not the same thing. This isn't that, and it's treated as the same exact thing, and that's where I have a problem.
But I'm going to tell you where this all comes from. This all comes from the fact that we are treating truth as lies and lies as truth now anyway. So
Mm,
there is a there's this underlying current of when anything is says, there's always some kind of back channel that goes, well, that's not what really happened. What are you talking about? That's offensive because there's no way that happened because of this. And there's people that rally around the lie so much that it becomes the truth. And we are in this situation where somebody is actually speaking, facts based on, historical content, that it gets, oh well, he said he said the J word, so that's automatically anti-Semitic. And it's not.
exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. But there's that old saying that history is written by the victors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whoever is the top dog at that time in that place in history is who says what's true and what's not true. But I mean, nothing that you said isn't true, especially when it comes to how we treat slavery in America, right? Like, we do have that. We don't go there. We're not going to talk about that. We absolutely do, but it's for the opposite reason of why we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about Judaism. And I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong terms, because I really don't know a whole lot about the religion or any of
Right.
that stuff. But so I'm using words interchangeably. I apologize if it's not correct, but um, and we've talked about this too, right? Like, from what I know, in America only, right? They don't stand for that shit. Like, the Jewish community does not stand for that shit, period. Like, you're not going to come for them and survive whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was that you did. And we don't have that same energy in our community. So it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, our thing is that we're so we're slaves to the dollar and how money can be taken away and how opportunities can be taken away by saying certain things, where that's where it ends for us. Like, we don't have
Hmm.
that. We actually have the same power that that the Jewish community has in regards to saying, okay, enough of this bullshit. We're not going to take the fact that you continuously will be in situations and calling us the N word, and taking opportunities away from us, or killing us, or police killing us, or things like that. Enough is enough. We have the power together to be able to stomp that out. The problem is that all of our fundamental leadership that we look to now, if you looked at the civil rights movement, we had actual civil rights figures. We had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X, um, Marcus Garvey. We had people that were there. Fred Hampton. We had people that were actually there. And Marcus Garvey's a little bit older, so that's not right. We had people that were there to be figureheads to do these type of things. That was their specific function. Um,
Hmm.
Muhammad Ali is probably the only real one of the real ones that was kind of the hybrid, the athlete turned activist type of thing. But now we in this situation where we look to our athletes to be the activists, and it's really weird because we don't have people that's standing out there just being activists. Um, so anytime that we get a high profile black person to be out there that's in there, a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James, or
Or
anything,
OJ.
or OJ, or whoever it is that might be there, we look at them as to be you are the person, the spokesperson for all black people and how we feel. You
Right.
must speak out.
We expect them to shoulder that responsibility, which in itself, we could have an entire podcast conversation about
Hmm.
that, because there's a million ways to be black in America. There's a million ways to be
Yeah.
black, period. Um, but we do have our Tamika Mallory's out there who are doing the work. And we don't lift those people up. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't protect those people.
No, I think that that's part of the problem too, is that we don't use our platforms to be able to raise these people up when they, when they are doing that and they got groundswell. Um,
Hmm.
and I like the offline conversation that we had. Think about it. Jesse Jackson, when he ran for office, the reason why he didn't end up being in office was because he was not palatable to both white people and black people. Obama
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
Obama knew how to walk the line. He knew how to talk to both sides of the aisle and made it palatable and presentable. And they was like, okay, you shall pass. Like
Right.
Jesse Jackson was just too black for them to be able to go, okay, well, this is gonna be the next one. So no, we can't have that. Because he may legitimately get up in here and do some shit that we don't want him to do. Um, and I think Obama made concessions, and it kind of was like, like it was like diet struggle. Like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna tackle some of the issues, but you being a black president is enough because hey, that's progress. Like it's kind of weird because none of the real problems that we had as communities and societies for African Americans were not addressed during his administration. To be honest, I mean, there wasn't really anything that was just like, what's the one thing that you can point to and be like, he made that change, that worked out for us. That's dope.
That goes back to what you already said, though. As a community, a lot of people expected him to be able to go to the White House, break down doors, and do all of these things that systemically we were never even supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Like, he never
Yeah,
even was supposed to be. So yes, it was progress, and I agree with you, that he was the more palatable choice. Like, he was, what am I, he was neutral enough to be acceptable.
right.
So
And
I don't know.
yeah, that's how I kind of felt, in regards to what we're enduring now. And we talked about entertainers, about the Killer Mikes and TIs and um, you know, David Banner,
Hmm.
all these type of figures that are there, but it's just tough to understand whether that's going to be something that we can look to in the future and go, okay, well, these are going to be the 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 people that we need to lean on going forward. We can trust that they're going to get in position so where they can turn around and help um,
Hmm.
politically because they are learning the political landscape. I know that Killer Mike is learning the political landscape. David
Hmm.
Banner is a very, very, very smart, very, very, very smart man. Understands not only business, but he understands how how this system of racial inequality works.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to figure out whether we're going to get to a point where they're going to be in position to be like to facilitate real
Real
change,
change. Yeah,
or are they just going to have a glass ceiling, to the point where they can get so far and have to stop?
I understand. You're questioning, like, where do they plateau at? Like, how far
Yeah,
are they going to be able to get before they're no longer to make more progress, or they're no longer able to make more progress?
yeah,
I understand that. It's so complicated because we're talking about hundreds of years of issues that we want to see change, but it took hundreds of years for us to get to where we are. So it's
yeah,
just complicated.
yeah. I mean, I kind of see it from that standpoint, but I find that very interesting. But kind of getting back to that whole situation with Kanye and with Khyrie, I look at it as the Nets basically put out these standards by which Kyrie should meet in order for him to come back, and they made it a public whipping, basically like, you are going to do this, boy, or else. And it had those tones to it when you put bullet points that somebody has to achieve before they can come back, and the punishment does not fit the crime because of him putting out the link, and he didn't apologize fast enough for your taste. And then it was like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna be heavy handed with him. We're gonna show him but a lot of this stuff that happened is a culmination of what Khyrie has done in that organization. Period. So now they're using that as a way to leverage him out. But the the way that it's done publicly, it looks bad. It looks like the white people club is like, in order for you to get back into the white people club, you have to do these things or else you can't play with us. And it's weird. It's weird. And they're really standing on that. And they want to, like, they almost like sticking their chest out, and people are like, yeah, take a stance. You be strong with him. But every other week there's somebody calling somebody a nigga on, you know what I'm saying, on national TV or on the news, or
And
there's
it's
people
not the
that's
same energy.
making statements about slavery and go back to where you came from, and you know taking, trying to reverse like affirmative action, and make it to where the, white lives matter and all this type of shit. You have all of these type of things that are going on, and we don't have we don't look at it as a, as a nation. We don't look at it and go, okay, well, that's unacceptable. We pick and choose what to be appalled by and be unacceptable by as a whole, and then we all stand on that. And it's kind of fake ass posturing, because we never really do anything in regards to when shit is really happening to our community, and we just kind of just sit there and just take it because we're desensitized and it's normal. This is what happens. Black people
But
getting
you
shot by police, just what happens.
you just said so much right now though. Like you just touched on so many different things that are not related to each other but are related to each other, and it all boils down to the fact that we love being racist. America loves racist. Like we love that shit. If we did not, we wouldn't still be doing the things that we're doing. So what we're really talking about is racism. It doesn't matter if you know I no one because the offense is against the black community, there is going to be no outcry. There's not going to
No.
be this outpouring of anger or this sense of urgency for change. It there is just not. But let something high profile and very public happen, and the offender looks like me, and the person that I'm offending doesn't look like me. It's going to be totally different than if that situation was reversed. It just is.
Well, that's just the way that it's been painted anyway. Because, just like I said, it's like it's the desensitized nature of racism and of these things that were faux pas. Because remember, like 30 years ago, it was you. I mean, being racist was something that are just like, oh my god, I can't believe this. You're a racist, and people had to like to burrow down in holes and hide.
Stand 10 toes down on that
They
shit.
they didn't get to wear that like that, and people were like offended, and it was wrong, and it was like that's why everybody was like, oh man, the civil rights movement is it's actually working, because people are really like not rolling with the fact that people being like overt racist. They getting called out on their bullshit or whatever. And then all it took was, it took for Trump to get back in office, Obama to get in office, um to be able to fester, to be able to get those feelings to bubble up again because this black man was in office. And then for Trump, the exact opposite person, to be able to get in office and to be able to express those views
Perpetuate.
of those
Yep.
people that
Yep.
felt a way about him. And all of a sudden we turn back the clock, where it's desensitized. We can, it's okay to just be like, for for Karen to call the police because you barbecuing out at Lake Merritt. It's okay for these things. This is normal activity. Or else, if it wasn't normal activity, people wouldn't have to record for 20 minutes when somebody's being a complete asshole about some shit.
I
Like police.
agree. I agree with your point. All I'm saying is we're so far into the racism rabbit hole. Like, how do we even start to climb out of this. Like, you can't even, I don't know who's to blame for, the reversal of the way things were. To your point, 30 years ago in the 90s, it was different than it is now. Like, it's
Yeah,
almost like erase the 90s and we're back in like the 50s.
yeah, yeah.
It's weird.
All the work that got done to get to this, to get to that point where we were out here like that, and things changed, is like it got reversed based on certain political action. Political action is what changed this. It wasn't anything to do with personal philosophies or anything like that. It was just like, okay, well, I can be out here and not not like black folks, and it's okay. There's somebody that's out there and really standing in front of, and doing everything to tell everybody without telling everybody that they don't like black folks. So it's okay to do that. Oh, cool. Now I can start, now I can start raising my kids and telling them that this is the way that you're supposed to be, and you don't have to hide
Which
it
is
anymore
gross.
and shit. And this is like, it's nasty. But I think that the one thing that we talked about too was that a lot of this is black folks' fault, because during that time we kind of fell in love with the melting pot. Everything was like we've meshed and melded as one people. We're doing this and that, and that's not saying it to keep things separate or anything like that. But as we started having offenses happen against us, we're more likely to turn the other cheek and to go, okay, well, we'll get them a pass. They were young. That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
So
Everybody can learn from their mistakes.
one thing that you brought up earlier, though, that I do think is relevant to what the shift was, now that I'm thinking about it, is, with affirmative action, opportunities were becoming available that weren't available previously, right? And so the socioeconomic landscape started to change. And so when you really think about that, though, like, when you think about families having more income and having more resources, more material wealth, if you will, right? They're comfortable. So they're not really paying attention, or really not that tapped into the injustices that don't affect them. And I really do feel like that is a part of what our problem is now, because we all are so me. I'm worried about me. I'm worried about my family. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care. And
Yes.
largely that's our attitude.
And even a lot of that comes from the fact that now more than ever, there are more self-made millionaires.
Yep.
When you're a self-made millionaire and you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do all of this shit, and you didn't get handed opportunities or whatever, you tend to focus on you.
Hmm.
And as you do that, then you become isolated. That's why you don't have a lot of that's how you have a lot of hand holding by celebrities to be able to stand, just like the Jewish people do. When something happens, they don't all stand together and tell people, no, we're not backing this shit. We're not dealing with this shit. They're too busy. They got so many connections that have to do with a lot of these Jewish people that own a lot of these things,
Yep.
where they can't even say, what I'm saying? They afraid to be like, okay,
They're
well,
not at
I don't want to be
liberty.
the next.
Right.
Right. I don't want to
Right.
be the next one to get blackballed. So I can't say anything.
Right.
They almost have forced to become out. And even if they don't believe in that, they have to come out and say something to be able to kind of stabilize their connections. And it's like, it's really weird. That's why Kanye's situation is kind of, he stands on both sides of the fence, because he says a
Hmm.
lot of things that make sense in regards to what's going on and what's happening. A lot of that stuff is fact, but
Hmm.
the way that he says it and his delivery is so messed up to the point where it sounds like really shitty. And he
Hmm.
does say really things that are just absolutely senseless. He does say things that are absolutely senseless, and it completely contradicts the sensible things that he actually says.
Right.
And undercuts his message. It's really hard to decipher what's the real shit, and then
What's
the
authentic
trash. You know
versus
what I'm saying?
clickbait? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like you sit here and you say these things. You like, okay, well, like he said, um, here's all of these companies that are owned by Jewish people, and he showed this graph, and it had all red, and it was like all of these Jewish people own majority of media media companies.
Mm-hmm.
But then you turn around and you say that George Floyd died of an overdose. Like, it is what? Like, the same person said this? Like, it's absurd. Like, his messaging and reasoning is so twisted. It's almost like it's two
Like,
people.
what's
I
your
know he's
point?
bipolar, but shit, it's crazy.
So here's what gives me heartburn, and this is what keeps me up at night, and this is what makes these conversations so hard for me, right? He can it's all well and fine that he released this list of these companies that are owned by Jewish people and Jewish corporations and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. We keep talking about how other communities have that sense of community. Who do you think is spending the most money pushing this economy forward? It's us. So until we are willing to, regardless of how you feel about Tyler Perry, right? This man is a genius.
Yes.
He has created his own little situation down there in Georgia. He has his own, production company. He has all of his own stuff. As a community, if we would rally behind the Tyler Perrys and the up and coming Tyler Perrys or anyone else that's doing the same thing, my point is we have the potential and we have the resources to be able to do that. We got to stop bitching about what everybody else is doing while we're still making them rich. It's us that are making these
Right.
people rich.
That's the important part, which you just said. The problem is that we are consumers. That's the problem. We are the main consumers for all of these things. We are the main drivers of your Facebooks, your Twitters, your IGs, your TikToks. We're the main drivers of that. We're the ones that
But
are watching.
we're also not going to support the black Zuckerberg or the black Elon Musk. We're
Yeah.
not.
What's the hold on? Let me look at there's an app that I have
Black
of
Twitter.
there's Black Twitter, there's what's the other app? Oh man, I see it. I see it.
Black Planet used to be popping, bro. And we knew how to code.
Yeah. Damn, I wish I knew,
Let
man.
me
I ha-
sit
I
back.
have
I
it. I
just
have it too.
I just got in my bag and I sat up and I'm like yelling.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it's so complicated and I hate to keep saying that, but it is. Like, of course, if I'm nothing else, every single day when I open my eyes, when I close my eyes, I'm a black woman. But at the same time, I would be naive to sit here and act like there's not simple changes that we could make in our own community that could put us in the position that we feel we deserve to be in and that we feel we should be in.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just a matter of, again, there are black owned sites that do this exact same thing, but we don't, as a community, stand up to be able to support that. We kind of just, it's hot for a minute, and then it's like, oh, but that's not IG, or that's not Facebook, or that's not
That's
Twitter,
not
or
where the
that's not
mainstream
TikTok.
is. So,
Right.
right.
And we too busy trying to be accepted and seen and being the next fucking, like, star or whatever, or next
Hmm.
YouTuber or next. These platforms are people that are all rotating and dying to be noticed by other
Hmm.
people, so where they can get their shit all based. And
Yeah.
that's what's being the drivers for the money. I'm like, you look at, I mean, shit, BET is not even black on. Like, I
All
mean,
right.
legitimately, like, come on, man. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I
I
don't.
rest my case.
It's tough, man. I just think that a lot of that is not, we don't support black owned things. We don't support black owned things. Black
We
people do
would
not support
rather
black owned things.
we would rather support Gucci. Let me be clear. I like luxury goods. I am a consumer of luxury goods. However, and I think we talked about this before. It might have been off air. I do research the brands that I do, make purchases from, especially if it's a big purchase. I'm researching like, hey, who started this brand? What was
Mhm.
that person about? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a friend who really likes Chanel, right? And so I wanted to know who the fuck was Coco Chanel, right? Like, she was a Nazi sympathizer. She 1000% was involved in World War II, not on the good side. She definitely was involved with the Nazis, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so you have the people that are like, well, she's dead and gone, should that be a reason why you don't support this brand? But guess what? Gucci is no longer owned by the Gucci family, but have you done your research and do you know about the different things, the different racist shit that has been said and done by Gucci as a brand? But everybody has a Gucci belt.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
List goes on and on. It's Timberland, Tommy Hilfiger, like all of these brands. Even the people that founded the brand say that this wasn't meant for black folks. It
but
was like the
yet,
shit was a happy accident. We'll take your money, but I'm just telling y'all, just
but
this wasn't
yet,
the intention, but it just happened to happen.
Tommy Hilfiger has had his resurgence. It's everywhere, and everybody thinks that shit's cool. I
But
remember
again,
the first time when, when he said that he didn't make it for black people. I remember that shit. But fast forward 2021, 2022, it's a different generation who either doesn't know or just really, I think they do know and they just don't care.
I
All
mean,
right, I
I don't see fucking Fubu, Fat Farm, and Cross Color coming through them doors anytime soon. I don't see that. I don't see them coming back. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Cross Colors is they're back, but they're back like in a small way. So I have on Cross Colors sweats right now, and the shirt I had on was Cross Colors also. They sell it in Zoomies. Um, so they're back, but they're not as huge as they were. Carl Kanai was back a few years ago too. I feel like Fubu might still be around in Walmart.
it is, and I think that I don't know if Damon John brought it back, but I think that the people that started it have brought it back. The problem
Hmm.
is that it's brought back at the lower level now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not as prevalent. It should have its way to be up in the same elk of a Gucci, of a Coach, of a Louis, a Louis Vuitton. It should be there. That should have the same reverence as that, but it
Yeah.
doesn't, because it's like now they have to basically go out, reinvent themselves, and then come back in the door in a smaller form, which is it's cool because they still making money, but it's not in the
Not on the
proper
scale that they, yeah.
where it was in the 90s.
Hmm. Hmm.
They was cleaning up in the 90s. Everybody was rocking that shit. Every race was rocking that shit. It wasn't just us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It was like
yeah,
that was the strength in it. And then it's
yeah,
almost like, okay, then they got big enough to the point where they can sell them. Which is typical business sense is go, okay, well, get big, sell.
hmm,
Make as much money as you can. The brand's not going to last forever. Sell the brand, which what Russell Simmons did, right? So it's
hmm.
like when you have that type of mentality, you're not going to keep ownership of it. But at the same time, those brands should still be able to stand strong and stand the test of time as a Gucci
A
and a
culture
Louis
as
Vuitton.
a staple for the culture.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's just it's just sad to see that we don't really support what we need to support. We are too busy running behind trying to prop up in you know this is status. This is status. If I have
Hmm.
this on, this says I have money. And as long as and it is the trick that's been sold to us this entire time. The shiniest shit is what gets seen. So you have to make
Yeah.
sure that you have the thing that costs the most. Your car has to be the best, flashiest car. You have to have the flashiest jewelry on. You have to have the nicest clothes on. You have to have the fucking $500 Jordans on. That's made by made by kids in third world countries for 35 cents, a 35
Mhm.
Jordan. Like
Mhm.
what the? I mean, it's we're not as a community, we don't grasp that, and we continue to fall into that hole and just let it consume us because it's like, okay, well, this is what it's always been, so we don't care, so forget it. So this is why we can't move forward, and this is why we don't really get together to be able to stand firm, and when shit happens, to be able to unite as a community. We know we don't have that Voltron mentality, like, man, everybody, all the lines get together, we ain't gonna stand for this shit.
I
You
like
know what
that.
I'm saying? We ain't gonna we'll never do it. Everybody's their own
Yeah.
individual line. They just trying to upkeep their line. They don't give a fuck about getting coming together, man. Everybody
Mhm.
see, and then the thing about it is they see themselves as competition.
Which is
They're
wild. And
competition.
we have had that particular conversation offline already about, everybody seeing each other as competition. Like, that is the farthest thing on my mind, period. Like, if I'm around you and, I have you in my space and in my circle, like, I want all of us to win, period. Like, however that looks. Like, if me being in the crowd, or you know what I'm saying, like, if me supporting you helps you to get to where that you want to be, that's what I'm gonna do. Because we don't have the same goals, we don't have the same desires, right? So why do I have to look at you as a person that I need to be better than, or as competition, when it's not that. If we
Yeah,
all win, we all eating.
right. Like I got a friend, Ty Longino. He has his own show and his own podcast. He's been a guest on Four Bar Loop. I had him on.
Hmm.
And we talk, maybe a couple times a month or whatever. And he created an app, and I was one of the first ones to get the app. Like, I don't care that you do the same things as far as the space is concerned. I mean, you've been here long enough, so where I respect all the things that you do, but I'm supporting him. I'm reposting this shit. It's like, I know, okay, I got a podcast, but so what? My homies got Rap Sucks podcast. I promote Rap Sucks podcast. They
Right.
promote What the podcast. So it's like, we all understand that we in the same space, but we don't have to be like, well, looking at you and like, oh, I'll show them they did
Because it's
this, so
not the
we're gonna
same
do this week.
thing.
It's weird.
Right. It's not
It's
the
weird
same
energy.
thing. It's so weird. People are so weird. Yeah, it's a lot of weird energy.
We had that same issue with the gauntlet. We had the same issue. Like,
Hmm.
we a lot of different platforms outdo their own different things, and we try to be champions for them. And hey, shout out to them, and here's this, and share their stuff and do all of that, and everybody. And I feel like that as black men, we should all be part of a community and being able to help each other when it comes to that. But it's
Networking is
always
everything.
it's always some way to find some adversarial bullshit to latch onto to be like they're ops.
That's so
We
weird.
do that. Black folks
But
do
you know
that
what?
for some
You
reason. I
know
don't
what?
understand.
So I have my craft business that I'm really trying to grow my business, and I am not a fan of Facebook in any way. What the podcast is the reason that I came back to Facebook to begin with. But I they do have the groups on Facebook, and I think that that is a powerful tool. It can be a powerful tool for you, right? So I'm on Facebook, and I'm in like a black women's craft group, and I wound up leaving this group because I'm just like, bro, like, how do we find a way to be mean girls about crafting? Like, it blows my mind. I just
It's
can't, and I'm not that kind of person. I don't understand
no,
it.
it's catty bullshit though. But it'd be like people think they think they're inferior or superior because maybe they've been doing it longer, or even if somebody's coming in. Part of having groups and having things is to be able to having a community is being able to teach a person in your community
Mhm.
if they're not
Mhm.
that fly yet. You know what I'm saying? If
Mhm.
they're coming in, they're trying to learn about the community and they're just starting, then you have to be able to congratulate the things that they're doing right, and help them improve on the things that they can do better. That's
I
what
agree.
community. That's what community does. But we don't do that as a community. It's just like, oh, that shit is trash, and I don't know what you was thinking when you came up in here. We don't do that up in here, and blah 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 blah. Like this is crap.
Right.
Like, seriously, you beating your chest over this shit, like over
Right.
making crafts. That shit,
And
crafts don't
even
make
if
people happy.
right. And even if we are doing the same exact thing, I'm all the way to fucking Idaho. Like, chances are the people that we're selling to are not the same people.
Facts.
Chances are I'm not cutting into your business in any way. You're not cutting into my business in any way. And to your point, why can't we help each other? If I mean, there may be something that I'm really good at and someone else is asking questions. But what I would notice in the group is like people would just be real weird and like mean about shit instead of being willing to help. That is the weirdest energy to me.
Yeah, I was like, I started a new position this week, and
Mhm.
I was talking to my new boss. It was kind of just like, okay, well, where do you see the future of the department or whatever? You coming in, what do you see? And as she talked about something, and it made sense, and it made me understand how her philosophy is in regards to what she wanted to do. But she said, okay, well, we have this abundance of we have these team members. Every one of them specialize in doing something different. Why don't we champion the fact that they know how to do these things and lean on them and showcase them, so where the other group members feed into that and can turn to them, and they can
Mhm.
barter what they do well to be able to
Right.
build the community, which is how it's
Leverage their
supposed to be.
strengths.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. You're the spreadsheet one. Okay. You're the one that can send out the emails. You're the party planner. You're this and that. You find those things and those elements and those different people. And
Mhm.
that's how you build a team. When you're a head coach of when you're head coach of an NFL team, you got to make sure you have the best coordinators to be able to not only live out your vision, but for them to be able to do their jobs best, so that you guys can all come together and collaborate. Offense has
Right.
to collaborate with the defense, whatever it has to be. That's how things are built. It's not just, okay, I'm standing here, so I'm telling you guys what you need to do. It's my way or the highway. That's it. Nobody has
And
any
you're not good
ownership.
at everything.
Right. Nobody has any ownership. Nobody has any
Mhm.
pride in what they do. Nobody is really shown to have the spotlight shown on them when they do something great. It's like it to me, that was just like a referendum on what's been going on with in regards
Mhm.
to black folks in business. We just are weird. We just being weird.
Very weird.
Creators
Stop being
creators are
weird,
weird ass
y'all.
people. Creators are weird ass peoples anyway, but it's just they just thinking it's like it's no room for nobody else. Like, I have to be like
Yeah.
this. You're not fucking Highlander. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm the only one, and there cannot be a two. What are you
But there
talking
has
about?
to be more than one. There has to be more than one.
Even if you making shit in the same space, we need variations of the same thing. You know how many fucking water companies there are?
Bruh.
They're not. They and guess what? Newsflash: they all have water. Always make water. They all make water.
How many
All
cake
make
ladies
drinking
do you
water.
see? Cupcake ladies,
Right.
cookie ladies.
They all do the same thing. It's just different variations of the same thing.
Their style, right? Their aesthetic might be different, but they're probably all baseline doing the same exact thing.
But we built this competitive nature and this competitive culture for no reason. It doesn't have to exist. I think that the partnership needs to be there, um, and your competition is actually outside of your community, is what it is. That's
Hmm.
your competition. Y'all as a community are building something together. Y'all all doing things, and y'all all collaborating to make your community strong. So you can look at it and be like, hey, we want to be the best community out there. And you can build on being the best community and use that as an opportunity to be competitive with another community. You don't be
Right.
competitive within your
Within.
community where y'all all doing the same, y'all all doing different variations of the same shit,
Hmm.
and then y'all not growing together. If all the lions form Voltron, we all are stronger, we all get better, we all feed off each other, we all make something, then that makes other people turn to us and look and say, what are they doing? So they playing catch up. This is
Yeah.
weird, man. We got a lot to go, a lot to learn, and a
We
long way to
do.
go as far as community, man. So,
Hmm.
well, it looks like we hit our 45 minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, man, that was such a good conversation. I always feel like every time we sit down and talk, it's a really good conversation. Sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself with being like, well, it's complicated because it is. If any of this stuff was, surface level and just simple, this would have been like a 15-minute conversation. But I always enjoy our conversations, and I always feel like you bring, and I tell you this, you bring like another level of thought to whatever it is that we talk about, right? Because we all have like our set way of thinking. I think I'm a pretty open-minded person, but that doesn't mean that I don't get tunnel vision sometimes. And so I really do appreciate when we talk because you give me something else to think about.
Well, that's the same way I feel about you because it's like, um, the reason why it gives me so much energy to have these conversations with you because I know I'm going to pick up something I'm going to learn because you will say things that I don't. Just like you say that you come from perspectives that I don't think about necessarily either. I be kind of stuck in my ways as far as this is how I see it, and I'm not saying that everybody should see it my way, but you have a way of coming from a different direction. So I'll be like, or it's easier to play off of that because it's like, okay, well, now we can kind of merge ideas and try to find another avenue to come out because you will give birth to some shit for me to be like, oh, okay, I didn't even think about that, but here's another avenue, and
Hmm.
it makes things a lot easier. It's been really, really, really cool to talk to you offline, online. Like this has been dope, and I'm hella looking forward to doing a lot more of these with you because you're the panel that we have are all very intelligent people. I don't think there's
Hmm.
nobody on here that don't have the brain power and capacity to be able to keep up with each other. Because Sam is fucking brilliant. Sandman is
I
fucking
love
brilliant.
Sam.
You know what I'm saying? You're fucking brilliant. I try to do what I can to be able to keep up with y'all because y'all are just amazing people. Like I don't ever feel like we just are out of place or out of sync or anything like that. Y'all are just, even if somebody jump shot off that day, y'all somebody will pick it up and then be cool. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be the funny one today, so and everybody will pick it
Yeah.
up, so it's cool.
That's what makes it so dope, though. The chemistry is just wild between the four of us. I'm so grateful. I really am.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to trying to get that 50th together. We're trying to plan it right now, so we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. So just be looking for this. This will be every other Tuesday. It will be around the same time that we usually drop the podcast. I'll drop it at 5 p.m. or excuse me, I'll drop it at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So be on the lookout for Let Me Finish, what the podcast presents. Let Me Finish. Uh, Tonight it is with Nytelife and with the Godfather. So difficult roads often lead to the most beautiful destinations. Shoot your shot. Go for the win. You might make it. Peace.
Bye.